The Michael Jackson movie is out, and my students won't stop asking me to teach them this song.
Sheriff, he's over here. God.
We're skipping the Eddie Van Halen solo and learning the part Steve Lukather actually played, the rhythm guitar that holds the whole thing together. Hey everyone, I'm AJ Hansen with Level Up Your Guitar. Tab sheet music is in the description, private lesson link is down there too. Let's get into it. One of my students asked me recently to teach him Beat It. The Michael Jackson movie is out. I've had actually several requests for it, so it totally makes sense. And I just did the Ride Like the Wind lesson 2 weeks ago because I went to see Christopher Cross and Toto live. Steve Lukather was obviously on that tour and was fantastic. 10 out of 10 would recommend. I think most guitar players know that Cool Hand Luke recorded the rhythm part on Beat It, but most people outside of our sphere don't. So this feels like a natural follow-up. So here's what we're getting into. We've got the main riff, which is the chorus, the verse, and the bridge. And I like teaching this as a riff-based song that ascends multiple adjacent strings rather quickly, and we're going to see that right away. This song is an E-flat standard. Every string is tuned down a half step. The shapes are identical to standard tuning, but if you want to play along with the recording, tune down first. But to save you some tuning time, I'll just teach this in standard. All right, let's hit it. All right, let me demonstrate the riff and chorus section. Alright, like I mentioned earlier, I like teaching this song because it's a cool riff, everyone recognizes it, but it's a riff that ascends multiple strings right away. And this is something that for a beginner or like you're just getting into intermediate territory, something like this can be kind of tricky. So let's dive into this. So we're going to start on the and of beat 4 with just an open E string. And you'll let that ring out into beat 1, and then on the and of beat 2, put your middle finger on the E string 3rd fret, index on the A string 2nd fret, and then pinky on the D string 5th fret. So just that much we've got. So we're covering this in second position, so that's a finger in each fret starting from fret 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you've got this E minor arpeggio starting from the open note. You got E, G, B, and then we leap up to this G here. And you can downpick all this stuff and then resolve it back to E with the index finger on the D string 2nd fret. So that there is a really good area to drill. Then from there, we've got a hammer-on the D string from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret, and you'll use your index and ring. Now you'll notice in the standard notation, you can see this tiny note going to a big note. That's called a grace note hammer-on. So that is like an instantaneous hammer-on. Which, I'll take a break here for a second. A grace note hammer-on is a really good thing to point out to beginners or people who are getting used to hammer-ons, because when we learn hammer-ons, we're not used to having the control and keeping hammer-ons or pull-offs even. Like that, where it's 1 and 2 and, but this is an instantaneous hammer-on. And because beginners and intermediates tend to use a lot of torque, it's just like, I just need the power to get that second note to sound loud. This is a good place to actually start people off and notice that the grace note is an instantaneous one, instead of forcing them like, do the even ones first, you know, stop getting in the way and just learn the grace note. It's actually my favorite type of articulation is grace note hammer-on, pull-off, and slides. Oops. And that F sharp here in the 4th fret, that will tie over into beat 1. And then on the end of beat 1, you'll go back to the index finger on the 2nd fret, and then 2 staccato quarter notes on this open D string. So starting from the hammer on. So taking it from the beginning. Then beat 4 is an 8th note rest, and then we're going to start this idea again, and then a slight twist in the 4th measure. So starting right here, we're going to do the exact same thing from here to here. All the same. It's even the same up to here. We've got on the and of 1 that E note again, and then the open D note. And then there you get the staccato quarter note and just 1. First time you go through this, you get 2 open D notes. Here, you just get 1. And then you'll have a dotted quarter note of rest, and then on the and of beat 4, it starts it all over when you repeat back here. So I'll demonstrate this whole thing with some repeats. And then once slowly. And the other thing worth mentioning is this is the main riff, but it's also used in the chorus. And once you enter the chorus, you'll actually want to ignore this pickup note and just play the open E right on beat 1. Let me demonstrate that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that only happens at the beginning of the chorus, and then once you pass through that, then you just play it as normal with the E pickup note. And that's the entire riff/chorus section. It's the same thing every time. Once it clicks, it stays clicked. Quick pause, if you want me to walk you through songs like this one-on-one, I do private online lessons at levelupyourguitar.com. I've been teaching for 26 years and have taught nearly 30,000 lessons across all musical genres. I only take on a handful of new students at a time. If that sounds right, apply for a free trial lesson. Link's down there. Now onto the verse, and I want you to notice something, but let me play it first. Catch it? Same rhythm. The verse uses the exact same rhythm and power chord inversions throughout. Let's check it out. So for this entire section, we've got these inverted power chords on the D and G strings, so you'll only use your ring finger and index finger. In the beginning, beat 1 is a rest, and then on the end of beat 2, you start with the ring finger on the 9th fret, kind of barred across the D and G strings. And you'll go and 2, 3. Beat 4 is a rest, and then you can go to your index finger in the 7th fret on the D and G strings. And this rhythm goes and 1, 2, and 1, 2. So all together you've got So that was all the way through here. Let me demonstrate it a little slower. 3, 4, 1. Simple as that. Now we take the exact same figure, move it down 2 frets, but now we'll reverse the order. We'll start lower on the 5th fret with the index finger, and then go to the 7th fret with the ring finger. So we've got index on 5, and 2, 3 is the count. And then the and of beat 4 into beats 1 and 2 with the ring finger in the 7th fret. And then for the last 2 measures, you just shift back up to where you were before and do the exact same thing. So let me demonstrate this much. And then one slowly. And let me run through the verse one more time all together. So that's the entire verse, pretty simple. Now we're going to go into the bridge. The first half of the bridge is super simple. It's going to be the same rhythm of what we just played, just on an open E string. And then the second half of the rhythm, which is the final section we'll go over, is a much funkier section. So we'll get through the first half super quickly, and then we'll deep dive the second half. So, like I said, this first half of the bridge, very simple. You can see it's all on the open E string, and it's even the same rhythm as what we did in the verse, and 2, 3, and 1, 2. And 2, 3, and 1, 2. So just make sure that you palm mute this. You don't want it ringing out open. So the other magic behind this, or the secrets behind the curtain, is yes, I am palm muting, but since this song has a little bit more gain than usual, you do need to keep this wild stallion under control.
Wild Stallion!
You will also use the left hand to make sure that during these big rests here, that no sound is coming out. So, that's all there is to that. This is probably the easiest bridge I've ever taught. On to the next section. So here's where we get the funk out, but the nice thing is that once you've got about this much down, you're just going to repeat the idea, and then this is an exact copy over here. So let's deep dive this section. So what you want to do is have your index barred across the B and G strings. And what you'll do is you'll start with that index finger there, just relaxed on the strings to mute. And you'll do a quick 16th note down up. And then once you get that, then another down strum on beat 2 where you actually press down to get the double 12s. So you get that chugga-boom, chugga-boom. And then once you've got that, you're just going to repeat it again. So you get and a 2 and a 3, and a 2 and a 3. And then on the and a beat 3, you'll bring your ring finger into the D string 14th fret. And a little slower. Now, bonus points if you can add some vibrato to that E note on the 14th fret. So if you haven't done vibrato, what I'll recommend is, since you're basically just doing a bunch of bends very rapidly, your ring finger is making the note, but have your other 2 fingers behind as support so you can grip the string well. You don't want to do it by its lonesome. And when you do that, it's also good to have the thumb up a little higher so you have some leverage on the string. And basically you're just going to bend the string down towards the floor. So that's obviously done too slow, but basically I'm using this part of my forearm right here to drag that note down. So it kind of sounds like a really sad, like, ambulance siren or a police siren. Wah-oo, wah-oo, wah-oo. But once we add the speed and the timing to it, it'll liven it up. So once you've got that vibrato down, then we're basically just starting this whole pattern over again, but it's rhythmically displaced if you want the big fancy college term. So we've got the last 2 16th notes of beat 4 into beat 1. So and a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and then you get the same vibrato on the 14th fret, but you hold it to the end of the measure. So let me demonstrate both measures together. And then one slowly. And as I said before, the last 2 measures are the exact same as what you just played. So I'll demonstrate all 4 measures now. So let me demonstrate the entire bridge section just a little bit slower. So that's the entire bridge and the entire rhythm track to Beat It by Michael Jackson, as played by the legendary Steve Lukather. If you're hoping for the Eddie Van Halen solo, let me know, and maybe we'll do that in the future. And there you have it, Beat It by Michael Jackson. If this helped you level up, hit the like button and subscribe. I drop fresh lessons every week. Sheet music is in the description. Private lesson link is down there too. When you want more riff-based songs, check out the Level 8 Riffs playlist here. Keep playing, and I'll see you in the next lesson.
Have a banana, have a whole bunch. It doesn't matter what you had for lunch.